Good evening, everybody. Hope this finds you all well. We're starting in a couple of minutes. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. And my name is Louise Riley, and it's a pleasure to take you through this webinar, which is going to be all about winter wellness. So obviously, as we are now in the month of October, in fact, we are coming out of the month of October, and it was only the other weekend that the clocks changed. And that makes us really start to feel that we are heading not just out of autumn, but into winter. And of course, as the clocks change, our mood can change very much as well. So as we start to go into a new part of the seasons, then we need to start to think about how we are going to look after our body maybe in different ways than we did even in the autumn. So first of all, let's just focus on thinking about some of the key things that our body really needs to look at. And I would say that probably the biggest area is going to be our immune health. And our immune health is looking after our immune health is down to lots and lots of different areas. But often the thought of our immune health, do you actually know where your immune system resides? With that in mind, I thought probably one of the first things that would be a really good idea is to have a look at our immune system. Okay, so in this diagram, you can see lots of different areas, and generally speaking, when we're talking about our immune system, we want to think about two particular battlefields, you might say. We have two different armies that are going to be part of our natural defense system. The first one is known as our innate, and our innate immune system is our defense system that sometimes can be referred to as our natural immune system. It's our first line of defense. And one of them that you can see on the screen is actually our skin. And because that is going to give us a barrier, that is actually one of the first areas that if we have any contact with any invasions, it's got to deal with what's on the skin first of all. So what we have on the skin, we have a variety of different chemicals that are on there. And this is going to give us a very rapid response. So our natural or our innate defense system are things that are already in place. In fact, when we were born, we already had this in place. It's things that our body doesn't have to learn about. And our natural defense system then is going to be, as I said, things like chemicals. It can be cells, as I said, our skin as well. So that is something that we hope that the first battle on the battlefield and our first army is going to deal with most of the invasions or the pathogens. But then we might have to send in what we call the special forces. And the special forces are there because they are going to be that extra backup if our first line of defense hasn't actually been able to do its job, or some of the heavier challenges of bacteria and viruses have managed to get further down into our body. So with our special forces, these are often referred to as our second line of defense, and this is our adaptive immune response. Okay, so this is our second line of defense. Within this second line of defense, you will often hear about our B cells and our T cells. So when we have a look at this particular diagram, you can see some of those areas. And when we get to our second line of defense, which is our adaptive, now this is what is learned as we go along. So what will happen is that our B cells and our T cells have really, really good memories. And that means that if there is an invasion from a pathogen, and it knows how to deal with it, that if that same pathogen will get into the body a second time, a third time, etc., then it will be able to recognize it and it knows how to deal with it. Now, as you can see on the picture then, we have our white blood cells, which we're going to have just a little chat about in a moment. And these are actually obviously found within our blood. We have our spleen, and that's also there to support in protection. We also have part of our immune system. In fact, what's quite interesting is 70% of our immune system actually resides within this particular area, especially the intestine. So what will happen if harmful bacteria will get down into our body, the first thing it's got to deal with is the hydrochloric acid that we get in our stomach. Then the next area, as I said, is in our intestines, our small intestines and our large intestine. And within that particular area, you have a lot of our immune system response. Another very, very important area is our respiratory system. And then finally, we have our lymph nodes, as you can see right at the top. And these are cells, and these are cells of the immune system. And these are very good to recognize and eliminate anything that's an invading pathogen. So I just thought it was quite interesting just to kind of give you a little bit of clarity of where your immune system actually resides and different aspects of our immune system. So when it comes to looking after our immune system, then, or our body, and especially during the winter months, then there are probably some strategies that you want to practice. And the first thing that is really important is to make sure you're getting plenty of sleep, and at least 7 hours. And I know sometimes that when the clocks change, our body rhythms can be out of that. So it's important then to get yourself into a system and making sure that you're getting a good night's sleep. So make sure, for example, that maybe you are not spending too much time close to when you are going to sleep with, for example, your mobile phones or watching television or anything that is too stimulating too near your evening time. Another thing that is quite good to be able to do is to have a nice relaxing drink. And that's especially things like herbal teas are very good, and to reduce down your caffeine intake. It's actually quite a nice thing to actually take some royal jelly when you go to bed at night. And obviously Forever, we have our Forever Royal Jelly, and royal jelly actually contains something called acetylcholine. And acetylcholine is one of those natural ingredients that we have within our body that is to do with our mood, and especially our mood for relaxation. Another thing then during the day is to make sure that you are getting exercise, and exercise on a regular basis. I think sometimes as the winter nights draw in, it can be really tempting not to have to go out there into the cold. But it's quite amazing how once you get out and about, even on a bit of a cold and blustery day, how your body is going to start to feel energized, not just the fact that it's warming your body up through thermogenesis, which is obviously a great thing during the winter, because often what we do tend to do if we're feeling cold, we will start to look at other ways of warming up our body, especially through thermogenesis, and that can be through eating. So one of the reasons why it is a good idea to get out and about is to really get your body And I say it's a great way to warm up your body, as well as promoting our memory cells, also supporting our immune cells, as we said. And another important thing to think about is when we're out and about, is to look at going to different areas for your walks or your runs or whatever you want to be doing. The reason for that, as you can see on the slide, it talks about your skin immunity. Now, every single day, it's as though our immune system wants to be reset, you might say, or updated. It's a little bit like with your mobile phone. I have a mobile phone here, and I'm sure with your mobile phone, what you tend to do is get the updates, and it wants to be updated to the latest setting, so to speak. And your immune system, it also wants to be updated to the latest setting. So how do we do that? It's really important then to put your body or your skin in contact with new bacteria, new pathogens, new viruses, so it can reset itself. And you will find those on different walks. You will find those on going to different areas. So that's something to always think about. It's not always doing the same walk or the same circuit or wherever you happen to go if you're cycling or getting out and about. So that is something to really consider. Minimize stress. Well, how do we minimize stress? We can do that through maybe breathing exercises, having a really good laugh. Now, one of the things that my husband Ashley loves to do every morning is that he'll get up, he will do his normal regime, but then one thing he loves to do is to listen to some comedy first thing in the morning. He always brings me a cup of coffee in the morning. He brings my coffee up to our room while I'm getting ready. I can literally hear him downstairs having a really good laugh. So through the winter, think about something like that. Even if you can minimize your stress by listening to some really upbeat music and having a little bit of a boogie. So all of these things are really important, because when we get stressed, that can affect our feelings and our mood, and our immune health can also be pulled down. Yes, as we said about enjoying some fresh air, and especially the winter sunshine. We're going to have a look at sunshine, the importance of sunshine in a little while. And then the other thing is that we need to get out and about. We need to get into different environments, different places, as we've already said, but also practice good hygiene. And that will include frequent hand washing. And also we know that during the winter as well, because our hands can get quite cold, then always think about making sure you're giving protection to your skin as well. So if you're washing your hands with our aloe soap, or you're using the hand cleanser, which is really vital, then make sure that you are also moisturizing your hands as well. So my favorite hand moisture is the aloe propolis cream. You can actually feel like there is a protective barrier on your hands. Another thing that become quite useful as well is to make sure that you are keeping your hands nice and warm, and your feet nice and warm when you're out and about. And literally you can massage our wonderful aloe heat lotion into your hands or into your feet as well. So that's another great thing you can do. But then it's about looking at a healthy, balanced diet. So one of the things that is really a good idea to do during the winter months is to look at putting colour onto your plate. And winter should be full of colour. And on this particular picture, you can see a variety of colours. And one of the areas that is great is to look at, for example, the root vegetables. You can see the carrots, and you're getting parsnips. And also carrots are really high in antioxidants, and especially you can get a variety of carrots now. You can even get the darker carrots, the black carrots are important. If you also look on the screen, you can see we've got our berries there, we've got our citrus fruits, we've got our potatoes, we have got asparagus, and in the season for that, courgettes, marrows, all those different things, these nice green leafy vegetables. Now, As a little bit of a rule of thumb, when we're talking about putting colour on our plate, you can see it says there, 3 is the magic number. Well, what we mean by that is if you can get into a habit of putting onto your plate 3 different colours of your vegetables, especially of fruits as well, then that means you are going to be giving yourself a variety of vitamins and minerals. Now, when we're talking about enjoying a balanced diet, then this balanced diet should be around about, as we can see there, our carbohydrates are 50 to 55% of what goes on your plate should come from your carbs. Your carbohydrates, if you look on this screen, these are all carbohydrates because your carbohydrates are broken down into 2 main groups. They are your starchy carbs and your fruits and vegetable carbs as well, but those will all release sugars, natural sugars, especially the fuel that your body loves to run on, and that is glucose. So make sure you have around about 50-55% what goes on your plate will come from your carbohydrates. Then the next area is fat. So 30 to 35% will come from your good fats, your healthy fats. And then finally, it's our proteins. Our proteins would account for around about 15%. So depending on the difference between the carbs and the fats, you can see that it's all rounding up to giving you around about 100%. So that is something to consider. Think about colour on your plate, because with that, you're going to be getting a variety of vitamins and minerals. You're also going to get a variety of antioxidants as well. Now, if we have a look at one of our first products that I want to talk about, this is our Forever Super Greens. So our Super Greens actually contains some of those carbohydrates because you can see it contains over 20 fruits and vegetables. And also within this particular little sachets that you get, that you're also going to have some aloe vera, believe it or not. Now, there's 3 main ingredients that we've added into this, which are our vitamins, and they are vitamin C, vitamin E, and magnesium, and this is particularly high in all of those. And as we know that vitamin C is an important ingredient that is going to support our immune system, the function of our immune system. So this actually provides 100% of the recommended intake of vitamin C. It's gluten-free and it's suitable for vegans. Now, how can you take your Forever Super Greens? It's really nice to look at different ways of being able to incorporate it. What I like to do with all of our products is to kind of see them as products that you're going to have in your kitchen cupboard, so to speak. And it's not just to see it as a supplement that you're always taking as an individual item. So it's really nice to be able to experiment and try different things. So here's an idea for you, and this is our Super Green soup. And this amount that you can see on here is going to give you the amount for around about serving 1, but quite a large amount of soup there. So with that, you have your olive oil, and you have your leek, you have some garlic. You can get ready-made minced garlic. You can obviously use any kind of garlic. If you want a garlic clove, that's fine. It's important then to look at getting some, the leek and the garlic are on onions. These are important ingredients to have alongside the broccoli. You can take some mixed herbs, a little bit of turmeric and some black pepper, and then the Forever Super Green sachet. And you can see how you can make your own nice hearty soup. Now, obviously, if you want to have more soup, then you will just double or treble, quadruple the amounts. So if you don't want to make soup, then another idea is that you can add the Forever Super Greens into a shake. You can also add it into different kinds of casseroles or stews, or whatever you want to do. So it's nice to be able to look at ways to get our products in a way rather than just mixing it with water and knocking it back, so to speak. So that's one of our first products, which I think that as we're going through the winter, sometimes we can forget to think about fruits and vegetables a little bit too much, because we are, especially when it's fruit, a lot of people will not eat a lot of fruit in the winter unless it is cooked fruit. Because once again, we like to have things which are quite wholesome and comforting foods. And so it's just a few ideas of how you can try different ideas, really. Now, another interesting area is to do with protein, because if you remember from the slide we just looked at, it was talking about protein, and protein, round about 15% of protein that your body will need. And it's interesting that a lot of people are not aware of the importance of making sure that you are getting enough protein, but also not taking too much protein in. So, as a little bit of a guideline, that when your body is at rest, now, one of the things you do tend to find is that during the winter, you may not be as active as you are through the spring and summer. So with that in mind, the calculation, the very, very basic calculation that you would look at is that your body would require 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight while you are at rest. So if you weighed, for example, 85 kilos, then you would need about 85 grams of protein. If you are active, if you are doing around about 1.5 to 2 hours of exercise in a day, then you would increase the amount of protein you're putting into your body. So you take your weight, let's say once again it is 85 kilos, and you're going to times it by 1.2, and that will give you how many grams. If it's 2 to 4 hours, you would take your body weight and times it by 1.4. And if you are doing 5 hours or more, then you take your body weight and times it by 1.7. It's really important that we're not putting too much protein into our body. We're not helping our body by putting too much in. We'll just end up, our body wants to get rid of the side scenarios of taking in too much protein, which I'm not going to talk about now because this is not a sports performance training. However, let's think about how protein helps the body produce white blood cells. So we've already mentioned about white blood cells. So white blood cells are also referred to as a plasma or blood plasma. And our blood cells are manufactured, you might say, within the soft tissue of our bones, and this is called bone marrow. So our bone marrow is where we make our white blood cells, and importantly, our white blood cells will make antibodies, and the antibodies are part of your immune system or your immune response. So just make sure that you are getting enough protein into your body. Another little idea then for you, if we're thinking about protein, is here's a smoothie. Here's what we're going to call the Winter Wonder smoothie. And once again, this is looking at a combination of some fantastic ingredients, especially during the winter months when we need to keep our body in tip-top condition. So simply, you can take 120 mils of your aloe. So if you are looking at having aloe every day, maybe this is something that you can do as a little bit of a change, maybe as a breakfast smoothie or something like that. You would add into that a scoop of Forever Light Ultra. Probably best the vanilla. If you want to put the chocolate in, you could, but I think that would be too sweet. A tablespoon of Forever Honey, and also 120 mils of orange juice. Orange juice, you really want to go for freshly squeezed orange juice, or if you want to take some oranges and use the orange juice from the freshly squeezed oranges in that particular way. A medium banana, a teaspoon of ground ginger, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of turmeric, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper, and then 1 medium carrot grated. And all you're going to do is simply put all of those into a blender and mix until smooth. So there's a great way of you being able to incorporate 3 of our forever ingredients as a smoothie. Now, of course, if you want to have the honey, lots of people like to have a nice, hot, soothing drink in the winter. So we have our wonderful herbal tea, which is our aloe tea. And the aloe blossom tea is literally, as it says, it is the blossom from the top of the aloe plant, and we've added lots of different ingredients in there, some beautiful ones including chamomile, which is obviously very relaxing. But then it's to have a nice hot drink, it's great during the winter. You can add some forever honey in there, and then also what you can do for a little bit of extra on top, you can add some of our forever pomestine, and the pomestine is going to give an extra little bit of an addition of vitamin C if you want to do that. So also think about using the pomestine to give you a little bit of extra vitamin C on top of maybe your morning oats, your porridge or something like that as well. So literally you can just put a bit of that on top. Obviously you can use our honey, you can use the banana. So please remember that it's about taking our products and seeing them as kitchen cupboard items. One of the things that I wanted to talk about in a little bit more detail is actually vitamin D. So vitamin D is something that has become, you might say, very of a lot of interest over the last few months. And so I just thought I would go through some specific areas about vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is known as the sunshine vitamin for a very, very important reason. But before we get to that, I just want to talk about the difference between vitamin D2 and vitamin D3. So vitamin D2 is vitamin D that you will get from plants, okay? Now the vitamin D3, you will get that from animal sources, and some of the best animal sources to get it from will be things like oily fish. Also egg yolks are important as well. So those are some of the highest ways to get vitamin D from food sources. But the D3 is the most important one, not the D2, which I'm going to explain as we speak. So the main way to get vitamin D is from sun exposure. And what will happen is that from the sun, we have sun rays, which are UVAs and UVBs. From the UVB sun rays, they will actually go onto your skin, and they are going to react with something on your skin, which is called cholesterol. Now, cholesterol is kind of a fatty acid. The surface of our skin is made up of lots of different kinds of fatty acids, and one of them is cholesterol. So there is a natural reaction, and what happens from that, it will form vitamin D. So what will happen is that the vitamin D will go into the body, but it is not in a state that is usable, you might say. And the first place it's going to go from the skin, as we said, look, in the manufacturing process, you can see on the slide, the next place it's going to is actually going to be the liver. So when it hits the liver, it is going to be manufactured to the next stage. And when it gets to that stage, then this is the vitamin D that circulates around in your bloodstream. In fact, that is the vitamin D. The amount of that is the serum. They will test to see, or the tests are done to see how much vitamin D you actually have in your body. So that is from the circulating blood. But we want to then make it into an active form of vitamin D. And this is important because this is the vitamin D that we need. That the active form of vitamin D is the vitamin D3, okay? So please remember, if you're taking vitamin D, which is coming from plants, and in fact, you don't get a lot of vitamin D from plants. You have to consider the fact, are you getting enough vitamin D3, which is the form that you need in your body for it to be active. So this is where it will happen in the kidneys. It becomes the active form of vitamin D, and from that will then travel around the body to the areas that it is needed. It might be worth just taking into account that other areas that the active form of vitamin D is made is in the gut, also in the lungs, as well as the cells in the immune system. So, as we say on the slide here, vitamin D receptors are found in both the innate and the adaptive immune system. As we mentioned right at the beginning, that's why the skin, which is an important area, and the adaptive immune system, that's where our body, with our B cells and our T cells around that particular area. We also find vitamin D is manufactured around, as we said, the lungs as well. So, are you getting enough vitamin D? Well, it is now recommended that you need to be taking in around about 10 micrograms, that's the mcg, per day. When you see a microgram that is written on a supplement, then it looks like a back to front U and a G, okay? So this is the microgram. The microgram is the smallest part of, you have your gram, you have your milligram, and you have your microgram. It's a little bit like meter, centimeter, and millimeter. Okay, so we need to have 10 micrograms per day. Are you getting enough? Well, think about it if you are vegan. Okay, if you are vegan and you are not getting an animal source, then you have to ask yourself the question, what are your levels of vitamin D? And because you would have the vitamin D2 source. So as we've already mentioned, that what happens is that it will come from it's manufactured from sunlight. So make sure you're getting out in the sun. Remember that it's manufactured with the sunlight, and it's combining with the cholesterol that's on your skin. So the cholesterol is obviously the oils from animals. Yeah. Okay. Another area is limited sun exposure. So one of the biggest challenges that we have as we're hitting the winter months is that I don't know about you, but where I've been today, there hasn't been any sun at all. It's been a really grey, dismal day here. And not only is it a matter of not seeing any sun out there, you don't even feel like going outside. So vitamin D is something that will be stored in your body, but it can take a couple of days from having been in front in the sun for it to kind of be manufactured into your body. But also you have to remember we can store it in our body, but we still need to be topping it up. If you're someone that is housebound, or you are limiting your time going out, what about if you cover up your skin for your religious reasons, or you are just worried about getting out and about in the sun? Also, what's interesting during the summer is a lot of people slather onto their skin a lot of the sunblocks, so not even sun protection, the SPF they're putting on the sunblock. So we're not allowing the normal situation to happen. The best time for sun exposure is actually between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. and you need to kind of get the sun onto your face or your your arms or your upper torso, and if you can do that maybe twice a week, but then for probably around about 15 to 30 minutes. So as you can see that during the winter, one of the best things you can do is to get out in the sun. Even if you can get in those 5 minutes and the 10 minutes, get your face into the sun, which is really, really important. Another area you have to ask yourself is, are you getting enough vitamin D if your skin is dark? So the darker your skin is, the more pigmentation from the melanin that is in your skin. And this will actually reduce the ability for your skin to actually make vitamin D. So that is another worrying process. And then also over the age of 50, then we start to naturally lose some ability to produce vitamin C. So these are some of the areas that I want you to think about. Are you getting enough vitamin C? Now, obviously, vitamin D, sorry, from the sunshine. So you're probably asking yourself, well, where do we get vitamin D from our supplements? Well, the vitamin D that we have in our supplements is vitamin D3. So obviously it is derived from animal source. It actually comes from the lanolin that is in the sheep's wool, because we need to get it from an animal source. Okay, so we extract it from the lanolin from sheep's wool. And that means then that the supplements that we have that contain vitamin D3 are not vegan friendly. So I just wanted to make that aware for you. And we're going to have a look at one of those in a moment, but we have it in the Vitalize for Men. We have it in the Daily, Forever Daily, the Forever Kids. We also have it in the RG Plus. And we also have it in the calcium as well. And then the actual supplement, which is one of my all-time favorite supplements, which has the highest amount of vitamin D, is actually the Forever Immublend. And the Forever Immublend actually has 10 micrograms. Now, if you are wanting to make sure you're topping up your 10 micrograms and you're not taking the Immublend and you're taking any of the other supplements I've mentioned, so the calcium, the RG, the Vitalize for Men, the Forever Daily, they all contain 5 micrograms of vitamin D per serving. And if you're having the Forever Kids, with the Forever Kids, you'll see on that it's divided into 2 for younger children and then older children and adults. So if you're having 2 of the Forever Kids, you're going to get 2.5 micrograms. If you're having 4 of the Forever Kids, you'll get 5 micrograms. So what I'm saying is that make sure that you are getting a good combination of vitamin D if you're not getting it, especially through the winter months, as we said, which is really important. What's worrying to know that some stats coming from America showing they think about 1 billion people are actually deficient or have low levels of vitamin D. So I want to talk to you about the Forever Immublend in a slightly different way than I have spoken about it before. As you can see on the picture, there is a big bowl of mushrooms. So these mushrooms, we have 2 kinds of mushrooms that we have in the Forever Immublend. They are maitake and shiitake mushrooms. And actually, if you are looking at a plant source of vitamin D, then maitake mushrooms have the highest amount of vitamin D from plant sources. So yes, mushrooms are a fairly good source, but please remember that the vitamin D that's coming from the mushrooms is not vitamin D3, it's D2, and then your body has to take in the D2 and convert it into the usable form of D3. Okay, and that won't happen until it gets through the systems we said with the liver and the kidneys. Right, so I'm going to talk about mushrooms and why we would actually put them into this Forever Immublend. I would say mushrooms are classed as workhorses, which might seem a little bit of a strange terminology for them, but they are really, really complex. And what they have, as you know, they have their stalk and they have the head, you might say, but also because they are in the ground, they are going to get all the nutrients and everything that they need from the soil. Now, because they're in the soil, they want to get nutrients But if you imagine a tree, and we know how trees are, and they want to put their roots down, and from their roots, that's where they're going to get their nutrients. And we know that the nutrients that are going into a tree will then go right all the way through to the branches, to the twigs, to the leaves. I want you to think about the mushrooms, and if you have a look at the gills and you look at the way that the mushrooms are made, then they are quite complex, but they are done in that way to create a larger surface area. And with that surface area, it's a great strategy for them to be able to become abundant with nutrients. So they're a great storehouse for nutrients. The challenge you have with that is that other or bacteria from the soil, or you might have animals, are attracted to the actual mushrooms because they know that they are a storehouse of wonderful nutrients. So they need to find a way to protect themselves from these animals or from bacteria. And they do that with something called a beta glucan. So they have their own natural defense mechanism in place. And these beta glucans are naturally occurring polysaccharides, and the polysaccharides are actually a form of sugar, they're glucose, and they are found in the cell walls. Now, what has been shown when we're looking at the defense system of mushrooms, it seems quite interesting, that the best defense system mechanisms that have been seen is in the maitake mushroom, but when you put it with the shiitake mushroom together collectively, they are really, really powerful. So they have a really, really strong natural defense system. So that's why we have these mushrooms alongside the 3 key vitamins to support your immune health. That is vitamin C, we've already mentioned, vitamin D, and also zinc. The other ingredient that you have in the Forever Immu blend is something called lactoferrin. Now, lactoferrin is a kind of protein, and it is like a milk-based protein. Now, lactoferrin is an ingredient that is naturally occurring within our body's natural defense system. So you will find lactoferrin within our immune system. But one of the places that it is well known for, lactoferrin, is actually in colostrum, which is mother's breast milk. And we know that when a newborn baby is born, the first thing we want it to do is start to build up its own adaptive immune response, because it has its innate immune response. It has that particular army, you might say, because it has its skin in place, and obviously the chemicals and blood in the blood, etc. But it needs to be in contact with other invasions as well. So to build up its natural defense system, it's really important that it gets its mother's breast milk, and that's in the first milk that it gets. That's in the colostrum. So in the colostrum is also lactoferrin. So we have also added this protein lactoferrin. As we said, it is also found in your immune system. And then finally, I just want to bring in a couple of other supplements that we have. And this is round a breath of fresh air. I would say that we've already kind of gone into the importance of getting out and about, getting fresh air into your lungs, keeping our lungs healthy. So yes, making sure that you're getting out and about, making sure they're getting out on bright, crisp days are really important. It's not a good idea to go out and about too much when there is foggy days. So nice and bright, crisp days are important. Get out there, breathe in that fresh air. Another thing that's important for your lungs is to make sure you're keeping them really hydrated. So drinking some, as we said, some nice hot drinks are good. We've got our aloe tea. All those kind of things are great. Even drinking hot water with some lemon in, and you can even enjoy drinking the RG hot as well. So these are some great ways, because obviously the RG also has vitamin D in there as well. So these are some great things to look after your lungs. Think about taking 2 of our supplements here. We have garlic, And garlic has been traced back for thousands of years and considered to promote good health. And then we have this lyceum. So lyceum, it is actually goji berries, okay? So you can buy goji berries in a supermarket, a little bit like a dried fruit. So goji berries is also something else that is that you can get some fantastic antioxidants from. They're a great dried fruit to have, but this has goji berries in it. And also it has the root of the licorice, and it's actually the flavonoid extract, which is the most powerful thing. When you're looking after your lungs and making sure that you're, say, getting out and about, fresh air, lots of fluids, also think about reducing down the amount of dairy you take, because when you have dairy, obviously from cows, that isn't mucus forming. So mucus actually is quite interesting, because that is also part of your body's natural in the innate immune response as well. So our body is very good at creating these things for protection, but the last thing we want to do is get a lot of mucus if we're feeling our chest is a little bit heavy. Okay, what I'm going to do is I am going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to see if we've got some questions and see if I can answer any questions that we have. So let's have a little bit of a look. If any of you have got any more questions that, let's have a look, we've got a few on here. Right. Right, okay, so yes, royal jelly, taking the royal jelly is a great thing to take. You can take it during the day. You can also take it at night time. You can take it to suit yourself. And the great thing about our royal jelly is that you can literally just pop it into your mouth, and you can eat it like a sweet. It's fantastic. My slide was showing fruits. It was showing fruits and vegetables. So it's really important that we are getting a mixture of, as we said, as many fruits and vegetables as you can, with a variety of colours. When you take the super greens, it's absolutely fine to heat the super greens. You can mix it in lots of different ways, but this was just to give you some ideas of how you can mix and match and try our products in different ways. If you want to, and one of the things that I do every morning is I have my aloe drink, which is I like to call it my power to get me going in the morning. I literally will take my aloe, my drinking gel, which most of the time it is the plain aloe gel. Sometimes I will have Forever Freedom, but most of the time it's that. But what I do is, in the bottom of a glass, I will take my RG, my NutriQ10 and my super greens. I put it in the glass, add a little bit of hot water, mix it round, because I find that dissolves it really quickly. And then I'll top it up with my aloe, and that's what I have every day. But like I say, just experiment. You can also put the super greens into the Forever Light Ultra powder if you're making your shakes, I said, but you can also make some pancakes with them as well. What else have we got on here? No, super greens, when added to the soups and casseroles, does the heat destroy any of the vitamins? No, I think what we always have to remember is that when we put things into our body, then our body has something in place that can actually destroy lots of things if we're not careful. And if you think about the hydrochloric acid that you have in your stomach, okay, so if our nutrients can survive the hydrochloric acid, then they can survive a little bit of hot water. What about berry nectar and use cranberry juice instead, and no added sugar? Yes, you can mix and match and play around. These are just a few ideas for you. Okay, so the liver and the kidneys. Yeah, so what happens is that it goes from, this is to do with whether the liver and the kidneys mention both. It's both the liver and the kidneys. So what happens is the UVBs will hit the skin, will react with the cholesterol on the surface of the skin, and that will create vitamin D. From the skin, it will then the vitamin D will then go to the next part of the body, which will go through its next processing, and that is in our liver. Then from the liver, that is what will be circulating around in our blood, and that is what is measured for the amount of vitamin D that our body contains. But then we need to make it into an active form that our body can really use, and that's when it will go to the kidneys. So it goes from the liver to the kidneys, and then the kidneys, that's where it will become an active form. We also can create that active form not just in the kidneys, but you also find it in the immune system, the gut, and the lungs as well. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, the RG warm at night is lovely. So the RG is, I just absolutely adore the taste of the RG. I can't answer that one. It's a little bit, I'm sorry, it's a little bit medical. So super greens, do you take super greens with hot water? Well, I put a little bit of hot water in. I must say that when I add a little bit of hot water, it becomes it smells quite strong. As you can imagine, it's a bit like when you've been cooking cabbage, because if you think about everything that's in there, you've got literally super greens in there. But you can, obviously, it's designed to mix in warm water or lukewarm water or cold water, but it takes a lot of mixing. So you can really find what works for you. So yes, I actually put it into the hot water. Next question, let's have a look. Royal jelly, yeah, it's great to take at night time because of the acetylcholine. So if you're someone that finds it difficult to nod off at night, why don't you just take some royal jelly just before you go to bed, and say you can literally have it as a sweetie. Okay. Which is the best way to take the ImmuBlend? With food or any time of the day with water? Thanks. One of the things about our supplements is that I think it's always best to kind of not take the worry out of when do you actually take supplements. I always have this thing that it's better to take the supplement at a time that you can remember than not taking the supplement at all because you find it's had a difficult time or a day that you can't remember. So I personally take all my supplements first thing in the morning. Well, not first thing in the morning. When I come down and I have my aloe, okay, I'm being honest, I wake up in the morning, I have a really nice coffee, I get myself up, I have my shower, and then I go downstairs and then I have my aloe drink with everything in it that I've mentioned. I will also then have all my other supplements as well. If I need to top up with supplements during the day, I will take other things. For example, what I do, I take my Forever Focus. Absolutely, if I'm having a really busy day and I'm doing a lot of work like today, I've been really busy in the office, and of course I'm still working now, I'm still on the webinar. So what I tend to do, I find that works for me personally, is to take my focus a little bit later. So I will take it probably about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and I'll have it with a cup of coffee because taking the Forever Focus is something that works really well. You take it with caffeine. But with my ImmuBlend, literally I will take that first thing in the morning. But hey, if I forgot to take my ImmuBlend with all my other supplements in the morning, then I just take it later. Okay, so I hope that kind of makes sense. Don't worry too much about it. Just remember to take them. Okay, next question. how many different supplements a day are enough to take with the drinking gel? I tend to take most of our products and are full of nutrients anyway. That's a really good question. So when you actually look at taking, what are you going to take? Well, I always have what I call my 1, 2, 3, and I'm sure you've heard me say this before. So my first product would be drinking aloe vera. Why would that be? Because the most important thing we need to do is make sure our digestive system is in balance. And by getting our digestive system in balance, then it means that that is supporting the absorption of the nutrients we get from our food and the nutrients we get from our supplements. So you're drinking your aloe vera gel. Then alongside that, I will then take the Forever Daily, because the Forever Daily is going to give you your minimum amount of an overall selection of vitamins and minerals. But please remember in your Forever Daily that you're not getting the recommended amount of vitamin D. Okay, and this is one of the things that is really important this time of year, is to make sure you're getting extra vitamin D. Then the next supplement that I would take would be the Forever Active Pro B. So we need to make sure that as we said, 70% of our immune system resides in the gut. We also know that our gut health is important, because if that is out of balance, the knock-on effect of other things that are out of balance. So I would say that's my 1, 2, 3. When it comes to different scenarios, whether it's our skin health, our respiratory health, our immune health, our energy levels, you may then want to top those areas up as and when you need them. So literally, I like to call that seasonal shopping. You therefore may decide that you are going to top up during the winter months with some extra supplements. And I suppose that was the idea behind the webinar, where we've brought in the Immune Blend as an extra. You may find that's what you want to do. You may find that you're thinking about your lungs and your respiratory health. Thinking, what can I do there? As we said, drinking more fluids, eating foods that have like garlic and onions is really good, or taking a supplement like the garlic is good as well, and the lycium or the goji berries. All those things are really kind of add-ins that you may decide that you are just going to take for a few months. I hope that kind of makes sense, that you can literally do some seasonal shopping. Right, okay. You're unconfused now. I'm really pleased I am confused about the liver and the kidneys. Can you put super greens in homemade soup? Of course you can. All I did with that particular recipe is give you a very, very basic recipe that you can take with the broccoli and the onions and the garlic, and add in your super greens. So if you have your favorite recipe, then just pop the super greens in there. You know, it's a really great way of getting those extra goodies in, especially for children. Right. What else have we got? Okay. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to pick out questions. We've got loads of questions that are relevant for the winter wellness that we've gone through. So please bear with me. Did I say one should take the focus with coffee, and is decaffeinated or regular coffee? And one of the things that has been shown is when you're taking the Forever Focus, it really loves to work with something that contains caffeine in it. So of course, having coffee, it's the caffeine that you want. So there's other things that you can have. Remember, caffeine can also come in the form of green tea, black tea, white tea. They all contain caffeine. You can also have our Fab drink that also contains natural caffeine. So we're talking about natural caffeines. They really complement each other. So decaffeinated is not really the answer. Okay. Is there too much zinc in the Blend and the eye vision? No, you're absolutely fine. I think one of the things to remember is that I get this question asked a lot, and your body's very, very clever, is that it knows how much it needs and it will only take what it needs. And also with supplements, the amounts that are in them are most of the time the when it says the recommended intake, the RI, that is the smallest amount that your body requires. So if, for example, it says 100, you've got 100% of your recommended intake, that is 100% of the minimum that your body requires. So you can actually take more. So really, you're absolutely fine. Should we only drink aloe in the morning, or better if we have 30 mils in the morning and 30 mils in the evening? Wow. So my answer to that would be that I always talk about the average amount that the adult would be drinking is 120 mils. Remember, the more you drink, your more nutrients you're putting into your body. So once again, think about it as well. We have the aloe minis, and the aloe minis contain 330 mils, and they were specifically designed to be able to have drink one of those a day. So you can drink as much as you want. So don't limit yourself to having 60. So find a time that works best for you. If you find that you can best to drink it all in the morning, drink it all in the morning. If you find you want to split it, that's absolutely fine. I'm always drinking the aloe minis. I absolutely love them. I can get through quite a few of them in a day. So please don't worry about thinking you're drinking too much aloe. Do you know whether Forever will bring out a vitamin D only supplement? I don't think we'll be bringing out a vitamin D only supplement, because a lot of the vitamins, they need to be, they love to be working alongside other nutrients. Right. The 10 micrograms per day for adults only. When they talk about these amounts, please do not worry if you are taking more than 10 micrograms. You don't take loads and loads and loads, but 10 micrograms is absolutely fine. So it's for adults only. If children take 10 micrograms, yeah, it will be fine. They generally class an adult as the 17 plus, but these are kind of a little bit broad spectrum, will be absolutely fine. So 10 micrograms is also okay for children. Is Arctic Sea not up there? You know, Arctic Sea is a supplement that I didn't want to talk about on this particular webinar, but the Arctic Sea is something that I will be talking about with the Vital Five, and that's another subject that is quite an interesting one, which I'm going to be covering with the Arctic Sea. But yeah, I mean, obviously what I was trying to do specifically with this winter wellness was concentrate on some particular areas like your proteins and your carbohydrates. Obviously with the fats, yes, if you want to take the Arctic Sea as well. But yeah, I will be covering that in another one. Okay, next one. Will Forever make a cookery book with our products? Wow, you know what? That's a really good idea. I think you should actually take that to marketing, Jane. Contact Spencer Bridges at FLP Limited, and that would be a really good one to put forward, a cookery book. Where are we now? Let's just see. A couple more questions, and then the ones that I haven't got round to answering, as I always do, I will look at them tomorrow, and I will I will answer by email and send them to head office, so you will get your questions answered. I always want to make sure everybody gets their questions answered. So to make sure we have enough vitamin D, you said, in Forever Daily Kids, does not have enough of it. What do you recommend for teenagers? Okay, so what we're saying, in the Forever Daily, you get 5 micrograms. It is recommended to have 10 micrograms. So what you'd have to do is take 4 Forever Daily rather than 2 Forever Daily. The Forever Kids, once again, you're getting 5 micrograms if you're taking 4. So to get 10 micrograms, you need to be taking 8. It's quite a lot. Okay, and I think, yeah, brilliant cookery book. And I'm going to, like I say, any that I haven't managed to answer, I will get back to you. So I hope you found that of interest. Enjoy trying and experimenting with some of maybe those smoothies or soups. And yes, any extra ideas you can think about with our products, the super greens or anything else, then please let marketing know. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to sharing information with you again all very soon. Take care, everybody, and bye for now.